How's it going? All right, I see Georgina in here. Dulce, welcome, welcome. Admit all. Elias, Javier, what's up? Jenny, Mariana. Jenny again? What's up? Hello, 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 everybody. This week we are going to be talking about taxes. Super fun. I actually messed up on my taxes and I lost $60,000, believe it or not. So do not mess up on your taxes. I believe it's Benjamin Franklin who said, there's only two things for sure in life, and that's death and paying taxes. And that was hundreds of years ago. He said it. It's true today also. But those taxes also go to some really great things that help support your community, all of society. So don't feel bad about it. And honestly, if you're paying taxes, it probably means you're making some money. So it's all good. We're going to pop open the poll for today, real quick. And we'll learn a little bit and just kind of discuss a little bit about what we pay, where it goes, and then we'll hop into our lesson and some discussions for the week. So, you haven't learned all this yet, but you can go ahead and take a guess. Which of these do taxes help pay for? It's got schools and teachers, road, street lights, hospitals, firefighters, all of it. Number two, if you could decide what your tax money goes to, what would you fund most? What do you think is most important to you? And lastly, which part of filing taxes sounds hardest to you right now? Is it the forms, doing the math, knowing what to report, just remembering to do it in the first place? I actually lost some of my information, so I couldn't go back and do it, and I kind of just lagged on it. So go ahead and answer the poll. It says 0 of 18 have answered. Are you all, can you see the poll okay? Can everyone see the poll? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can? Yeah, okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, go ahead and take a moment to that, answer that. And then we don't have two jokes this time, but we do have one joke. I'll let you guess first, and maybe share at the end here. Okay, YC staff, if you can go ahead and share the results of the poll, get your last answers in, and we'll talk about these a little bit. If you haven't had a chance to answer, don't sweat it. Okay, can actually, are the poll results shared? I can't see them on my screen. Can everyone else see them? Okay. Oh, okay, here we go. Which of these taxes help pay for? Most of you got this, even though you didn't know anything about it, which is all of it. It helps pay for all this stuff, whether it's an income tax, a sales tax, a gas tax. We'll talk more about what each one goes to. But if you could decide where your tax money goes, what would you fund most? Number one in here is healthcare by far, 71% of you. I know a few of you are going into nursing. I'm kind of curious who answered this, but how about Caitlin? When? What did you answer for this one? If you could decide where your tax money goes, where would you put it?
I put education and youth programs because that's what affiliates with me right now because I'm in school and I feel like it would really benefit people who really need that.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's part of what Youth Champions is all about too. It's like, educating people who are a little bit, just growing into being an adult. How do we arm them kind of with all the tools, everything else necessary to succeed in life and towards their goals? So anyway, excellent answer. Thank you. I appreciate it. What about you, Mariana? What'd you choose for that one? Alvarado. For number two, where would you want your tax money to go? Mariana, are you typing in there? Are you having a problem with your audio or something?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, no
Um,
worries.
um, it was for what number again? Sorry.
Yeah, for number two, where would you want your tax money to go? Like education and youth programs, healthcare,
Oh,
environment, technology?
I also put education and youth programs because actually just recently, today actually we were talking in my history class about like just the education system and how like schools are not receiving that much funding and stuff. And it's like kind of like not related, but like how the teachers were like not happy with their pay and how they wanted to go like on strike and stuff because they're not getting as much money as they want. And I just feel like also me, because I'm currently in school, money would like oh my God, I don't know how to word it, but I just feel like if we would get more money, it would have a more beneficial experience for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's tough to attract and like retain teachers for a long time when they're not even making enough to live in the area or they have to commute 2 hours or something like that. So even though people love teaching and helping others, it can be difficult sometimes financially, I think. So maybe some of that helps, solve it if it gets a little bit more money. So again, we'll talk about where all this money comes from for schools. A lot of it comes from property taxes. So if you own a property, you have to basically pay every year or every half a year, 6 months or so, you pay into a fund that helps fund the schools. So sometimes there are different things like up for vote. Do you all want to pay more money to help the schools? Sometimes people say yes, sometimes people say no. So again, we'll talk a little bit more about where you pay taxes and what they go into. So thank you, Mariana. Last part, which part of filing taxes sounds hardest to you right now? Number one was understanding the forms. And we're going to talk about that today. So you'll be a little bit more informed about how to fill out the forms. Y'all like my pun? Yeah, it wasn't that great. But we have one last joke in here. What kind of insect helps people with their taxes? Drop in the chat if you know the answer. You can guess. What kind of insect helps people with their taxes? Does anyone know? Let's stop sharing this. It's an accountant. Ant. Get it? Okay, not the best joke in the world, but still, hey, we're trying here. Let's pop open the presentation for the day. I saw a couple laughs in there. They were all from YC staff, but thank you. I appreciate it. Again, we're talking about taxes. We'll go to the second slide, which is kind of circling back on last week's lesson. We were talking about investments, right? Once you know how much you're going to make, you start saving some money, you start investing it. But on all that stuff, you have to pay taxes, right? So that's kind of the tie-in here is all this financial stuff. Again, the only certainties in life, death and paying taxes. But they go to good stuff, and I'll tell you how to file them and what they're for as we go through. So let's go to the next slide, please. So a few different types of taxes. Payroll. That's basically if you're getting your paycheck, you're not going to get the full amount of your hourly pay or your salary. The government's going to take some for various reasons. We'll talk about that. Again, we'll talk about filing a tax return and where they go, what they're for. Let's go to the next slide, please. So what are taxes and why do we pay them? They go to the government to fund all kinds of different stuff, right? Public services like the roads. Someone talked about hospitals and schools. Both, I think hospitals was the number one answer, but Mariana, a couple of you money for schools and education and youth. So that's what all this goes to. And you pay it in different ways. So I'm going to ask some of you, let me see, how about Genesis Orantes? What do you think maybe you've paid some taxes on? Can you think of anything?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I didn't really understand.
Yeah, no worries. Is there anything you can think of that you've paid taxes on in your life?
Um, I think everything, no? Like, doesn't everything have taxes?
Yeah, pretty much. What's like one example?
Food?
Food, exactly. So almost all food has taxes on it. In California, I think it's around 9% or 7%, something like that. Sometimes the city has their own sales tax. So that's called sales tax, which is when you purchase something, you got to pay a little bit to the government just to basically exist, even if it's just food. Medicine is exempted from sales tax, by the way, because it's considered more necessary than food, apparently. But you're exactly right, Genesis. When you get a job later, you're going to have payroll taxes, right? That's some different stuff. If you own a house, you're going to pay property taxes. If you make some money on investments, you're going to pay capital gains taxes. So that's a few different things. Basically, the property taxes in California go to the schools. Sales tax fund a whole bunch of different stuff using the state government. Um, some other, I was trying to think of like the most local type stuff. Sales taxes, capital gains taxes go to the federal government, and that helps build roads, freeways, all kinds of different stuff like that. And I think that's most of these. Oh, and gas taxes. So when you buy gas at the gas station, there's like maybe 30 cents a gallon that you pay in taxes in California. That goes to the roads. So if you're buying gas using the roads, you're basically going to pay for the roads, right? So that's what the different types of taxes you have to pay, what they go towards, and why they're important, basically, is we all want to share these things together, right? If we all had to build our own road down the street from our house and agree with our neighbors, it would take years and the thing would be falling apart even more, right? So this is one way we can share all those costs together and make it a little more efficient. Lastly, don't try to avoid paying taxes as part of being a responsible citizen. So let's go to the next slide, which is our first workbook question. List 3 things you use or benefit from every day that are paid for by taxes. So if you kind of think of from the moment you wake up, there's all these different things you use that you don't own yourself. What are some of those things? Go ahead and list it. We'll give you a minute here to answer this question. If you don't have the workbook already, thank you, Katya, for answering it here too. These are for the workbook questions, but you're welcome to put it in the chat also. But you do need to fill out the workbook questions in your workbook to get your points for today. So make sure you put it in there also, please. Great, thank you all. We're going to chat about this too, but I forgot to give a little reminder at the beginning. To get your participation points for today, you need to have your camera on. I see some of you, I don't know if your cameras are broken. You can send a message to YC staff, but Brianna, Jenny, Cacique, Katia Hernandez, Kimberly Villegas, and Javier Rodriguez, if you can turn your cameras on, please. And I'm going to call on some of you also. So hopefully your microphones are working also. Jenny Cacique, what did you write down for this question? What's some stuff paid by taxes?
Public transportation for one of them. I put public safety, so like police protection, and public education, so like public schools, libraries, and other stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jenny. And is your camera working okay, or is it broken right now?
It's broken right now.
Oh,
I
okay,
tried
gotcha.
turning it
Okay.
on and I can't.
Okay, no worries. I know I saw, I think 2 of you earlier, so I saw it looked like you were trying to get something going there. Of those 3 things that you answered, if we could spend more on one, which would you choose to spend a little bit more money on? You said public transportation, kind of like safety and
Honestly,
education.
it would be education because some
Education.
schools they don't have they have older books. Like take for example like libraries in the schools. They have like really old books and they're already falling at the seams and they have to like tape them.
And they're like taped up. It's funny. I actually just saw recently also that Jupiter is smaller than they thought. So I bet there's a bunch of outdated information in there too from like, years or decades ago. But again, I think that's been a common thing is like, more money for education. So again, when you're out paying taxes, when you're paying payroll taxes, eventually property taxes, when you buy a place, these are the things that need to be funded, right? So it's nice that you're thinking about that early. So thank you, Jenny. Appreciate it. Let's move on to the next slide, please. And actually, okay. So I kind of mentioned a few of these earlier, right? There's all these different taxes that you're going to pay as you go through life. As you know, you already pay sales tax, right? So whether it's your family buying food at the grocery store or whether it's you going down to the convenience store and buying some chips or a soda or whatever, you're pitching in a little bit there already. Um, Income tax, we haven't talked about it too much, but it says right there, taken out of your paycheck. Have any of our, especially alumni, have you gotten a job where you like have a paycheck with deductions and stuff like that? Trying to like see in here if anyone's raising their hand. Georgina, Diana, Kimberly, Camilla, have any of you had like a job where you get like a paycheck with deductions and stuff?
I I have a job on campus, but I don't get deductions.
Oh, no deductions.
Mm-mm.
Okay, interesting. Do you happen to know, and this is a little bit for level two, but did you fill out some form that has to do with deductions? It's called a W-4. It's like an IRS tax form about whether or not you want them
Yes.
to deduct money. Okay. So,
Yes, oh,
oh,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
For that paper specifically, since I work in the human resources department, I had to I checked off exempt from taxes.
Okay. So this is an interesting thing. So basically, when you get a job, thank you for sharing that, Georgina. It's basically you fill out this form that says, hey, maybe I'm not going to make enough money to pay any taxes, so don't deduct any out of my paycheck. Whereas if you like cross a certain threshold and make enough money, you're going to have to pay taxes at the end of the year. So if you are going to have to pay taxes, it's better to have them usually deduct some so you don't get surprised at the end of the year. But this is income tax. So once you cross that threshold, whatever it is, Georgina, then you have to start paying taxes on your income, whatever you earn, basically. And that's the form that's associated with it. So some of you said, "Oh, I don't know what to do." It. You can always look it up. It's called the W-4. But when you first get hired by someone, they're going to ask you to fill out that form. If you're not sure, there's a calculator online with the IRS. You can just Google it, how to fill out W-4. It says it on the form. So if you are about to get a job, you can look that up and you'll be a little bit more prepared to do that. One other thing about income taxes is if you do owe taxes or to file your form, in California, you need to file them with the state and a separate one for the federal government. So one goes like for the USA, one is for California specifically. So you have to file two different tax returns. Sales tax, I'm not going to talk too much about that because I think you already know, right? Anytime you go to the store and buy anything, if you buy a car, if you buy something big or small, they're going to get some tax on that. It's about 7 to 9%. There's the gas tax, which I said funds roads. Capital gains tax is when you sell an investment and profit on it. The government wants some of that too. Property taxes if you own a house, and then we just talked about payroll taxes. Actually, it's a little bit different than income tax. Payroll taxes are Social Security and Medicare. So actually, Diana Gomez, do you know what Social Security is? We haven't talked about it yet, but have you heard of it before? What is it if you can give us just kind of like a brief explanation?
It's like your personal number that you use so you can get uh well personally so you what I do to get like your benefits, your medical insurance, also so you can file taxes and they have you on file like if your parents claim you, that's what they put to identify you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like this. So it's your unique identification number, basically, for everything that you're going to do, including paying taxes. You also do get a little bit of benefit from it because Social Security is also the basically the thing that will give you some retirement money when you retire. So it's kind of like the government will give you so much money once you hit like 60 something, 62 or 65 for how many years you've worked and paid into this. So if you have a job, they'll deduct a little bit for Social Security, which is your retirement, a little bit for Medicare, which is your health insurance, and then a little bit for income taxes, sometimes a lot of it. So we'll talk more about that in level two next year, but I just wanted to have you a brief intro of all this stuff so you have a better understanding of what it is and what you can do when you get there, right? Which make sure you fill out these forms correctly, make sure you pay your taxes and get deductions so you don't get surprised. Thank you. Let's move on to the next slide, please. So another workbook question. So pick one type of tax and explain what it's used for and why you think it's important. I know that was a lot of stuff there. So actually, I'm going to have YC staff, if you can go back to the prior slide that has all those taxes on it. I know talked briefly about what they're all used for, but just do your best and go ahead and answer this question. We'll give you a minute. I know we're not going to have the music on, but I think it's easier if you can all see this. So go ahead and fill out that second workbook question, please. YC staff, if you can just put on a timer for a minute and someone can hum a song. Feel free to just unmute yourself, whoever wants to hum during this. I don't know how well you all can hear my whistling if it comes across okay, but that was, of course, the famous Jeopardy tune. Okay, it looks like we had the timer go off there. Thank you, appreciate it. I was actually kind of curious. I was going to bring up one other thing that I think is kind of interesting about some of these taxes is a lot of them they call like a benefits received type tax. So, for example, if you buy gas for your car, that money goes towards the road that you drive on. You're basically directly paying for the thing you use, more or less, right? So that's a benefits received type tax. Income taxes is basically the more you make is supposed to be the higher percent you pay, and that goes to help everyone out. So they call that an ability to pay tax. If you have the money to pay for it, you're going to help everyone else out. So you can kind of see the differences between the two, whether you like directly benefit or not. Some people think like different ways on each one. I'm kind of curious what you all think out there. So I'm going to ask Brianna Corral. What do you think about that? Like the like property taxes go to schools, the gas tax goes towards a road, so it's just kind of for the people who use it. And then you got income taxes who kind of go to everyone. What do you think? Like, is there one that you think is better than the other, one that's fair, unfair, whatever it may be?
Well, I think all of them benefit a lot of people, but the one I chose was income taxes because it's used to pay for like public schools, roads, healthcare programs, and emergency services. And I think it's important because it can help the government provide services that everyone kind of depends on.
Absolutely. And again, this idea of shared costs, right? It'd be hard if everyone had to hire like their own security guard or have them on call or something like that versus being able to call the police, right? Brianna, also, I'm curious, is there anything you think if we had a little more money to spend on whatever service it may be from the government, what do you think would be most important to spend it on?
I feel like education because I know a lot of schools don't get like they don't get provided a lot of money, especially for textbooks and also for teachers. Like I feel like they should like have a better pay since they teach a lot of kids. And also think emergency services because it's something that everybody depends on, especially like firefighters and like police officers, which helps keep everyone safe.
Absolutely. I think we've been hearing that over and over. It's like education and then safety, right, of everybody. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing, Brianna. Let's go actually 2 slides forward because I think the next one's just our workbook question, which we already discussed. And we'll move along. Okay, so this is a little bit more of like the nitty gritty here of filing a tax return. So in our original poll, a lot of you said it's just like the forms, like I don't even know what to do. So here's the basics of that. Like I said before, there's a federal and a state tax return, right? So one goes to Washington, D.C., to the federal government. The other one goes up to Sacramento, the capital of California. And you have to file separate forms for each of them. They're both a little bit different. But there is some free software online where all you have to do is put in all the information and it will do all the calculations for you. It basically asks you question by question, does this apply to you? Does this apply to you? Do you have any children? All those things. So there's some free ones that are online, like is it QuickBooks or Intuit offers one, but also the federal government and the state government offer a free tax filing form. So basically, your employer will send you a form that has all these numbers on it. You just put it in, answer some questions, and then you can print out a form that'll send it off or send it electronically to the government. So now a little bit, Georgina, we were talking a little bit about, okay, you fill out this W-4 form when you first get hired, right? And you're basically saying like, hey, do you want the government to deduct money from your paycheck? And actually, Georgina, I'll ask you since you did this, how did you decide to get no deductions? Did you know you were going to make under a certain amount, or did the HR people tell you, or how did you like come to this conclusion?
At the start, I was very confused.
Okay.
Um, Thankfully, since I worked there, they explained it with more detail. But the first, it was that I was not gonna make enough money to have t my taxes be deduct.
Ah,
So I filled that out. Not only that, but I also had to fill out a DE-4.
what is that?
That's the California to get like exempt from taxes in California. The
Oh,
W-4 was for federal.
okay. So this is a good point. I was talking about the federal form number, which is W-4, and I hadn't even thought about the California one. But again, because the taxes are different, the forms are different, all that stuff is different. And they may give you some additional exemptions in California, or maybe a higher threshold before you start paying taxes or something like that. So basically, you filled out some other form and you knew you were going to be exempt. So you're like, oh, why have them take all this money out and then get a refund at the end of the year when you're not going to owe anything anyway? Is that kind of the what ended up happening? Okay, cool. And it's just good to make sure because Georgina, as time goes on, maybe you have some more time to work, or you get a different job, or you can take more hours there, or whatever it may be. Especially if it's at the same place, you might have to ask them, hey, can I change that W-4 so you can deduct some money that I have to pay at the end of the year once my salary goes up? Because there's nothing like getting surprised at the end of the year and finding out you owe a bunch of money and you don't have it because you already spent it or saved it or whatever it may be or invested it. But that's why it's nice to have some savings too. So thanks for sharing your personal experience, Georgina. And again, what was the form for California? You said DE8?
DE-4.
Oh, DE4. Okay, so they named it the four also. And again, you don't have to memorize all of this stuff. The point being is there's a California one and a federal one. You're going to be asked this stuff when you get hired. So that's what to look up. Again, there's an IRS calculator on how much taxes you'll have to pay, and you can just search it. And you'll be able to find it pretty quickly too. So again, it's not too difficult. It seems like a lot of details. Just look it up. There's again free ways to file. There's free calculators to fill out that W-4 or ask HR and they can give you some advice also. Like I said, I lost a bunch of money by not filing my taxes right. So make sure you don't do the same mistake I did and learn from my mistakes instead of your own. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, third workbook question here. Why is it important to understand how your paycheck is calculated and how can this help you plan your finances? So again, remember, you're going to have to pay all these different taxes at the end of the day. You're not going to receive exactly what you thought for your hourly or your salary monthly rate. So I'll give you a minute to answer this question. Okay, time's up here. I think a few of you probably kind of know, but it's like budgeting. How are you going to know how much you're actually going to get? In Georgina's case, it's like, oh, nothing has to get deducted, so you pretty much are going to get the same. And actually, Georgina, do you get anything deducted at all? Do they take out Social Security or Medicare or any of that stuff? Okay, so you're exempt from all of that basically. Okay, awesome. I think when I was working at the state of California, they'd probably take about 20% of my pay in total between all the different stuff in there. And I think since then it's probably been around 25% maybe. So about a quarter of the money that I make ends up going to the government. And, again, I'm not bitter about it. I wish I would have been better on my taxes so I didn't pay a bunch of money that I couldn't get back that I didn't need to pay. But it does go for so many important things. So I'm happy to participate in this system at least. Let's see. Let's go to the next slide, actually. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're talking about next week. We're going to have a little bit of time for breakout rooms. I know that I think this lesson doesn't lend itself quite as much to as much discussion, maybe as some others, but I have some other questions for you all that I want to talk about. But next week, we're going to be talking a little bit about problem solving. So again, we've been talking for a couple of weeks about financial stuff, talked about investments, paychecks, taxes. But we're going to talk more about like solving problems overall for your life, critical thinking. And we're going to, yeah, we have a few different, it's like a 6-step problem solving thing. It's kind of like when we talked about goals, we had the 5-step, which is like the SMART goals. So we'll talk a little bit more about that and how to ask good questions to get to that problem solving and analyze and test some solutions. With that, I actually want to kind of ask you all first of all, because we started with goals, we started with mindset, then we're going into financial stuff. I'm kind of curious because most of you, it sounds like, not yet have received like your big first paycheck. And I'm kind of curious what you're going to do when you get there. Because I think this ties into the goals, right? Is what you're ultimately either saving for or investing for. Is that a short-term goal? Is that a long-term goal? Is it paying off some debt? Whatever it may be. So how about Alexa or Zate? What are you going to do with your first big paycheck, or have you already received it? Alexa, can you hear me okay?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, what are you going to do with like your first big paycheck, or have you already got one?
Um, well, I'm not sure if the Youth Champions one counts, but probably, well, I always try to like save half and like put it into like my savings, and with the rest of the money, I would probably just try to be like careful when spending it, like on things that I actually need instead of like my wants.
Nice. And so you said you're saving half. That is really good. So what do you do with that half then? Do you just like put it in a bank account? Do you like do something else with it? Do you invest it? You get interest on it or what?
Yeah, I leave it like I save it to my bank account, and most of that money is me saving towards like things for college and stuff like that.
Okay, so kind of that medium, longer term goal of like investing in your college education a little bit down the road. Okay, perfect. I love that. I think that's really good too. I mean, saving 50% of your money, I think is huge. Most people don't do that. I certainly don't, and I should be better about it. So thank you for sharing that, and good job on already getting towards those goals. You're probably doing better than I am. Geez, I'm gonna take some notes here. Thank you, Alexa. Allison, what about you? Have you gotten some paychecks before? I know you got some youth champions money, maybe. What do you do with your money? And like, are you saving it?
Well, the only paycheck I've gotten is from New Champion, and to be honest, I spent my money because
What
I thought
did you
I
do something
deserved
fun?
it after all the the cohorts.
Did you do something fun?
Well, I spent it all with like my friends, hanging out and eating and like going to the mall.
Okay, so you enjoyed yourself with it. And there's nothing wrong with that either. I was curious, like, oh, just set some aside for goals. We talked again a little bit about saving, investing, like this and that. So I appreciate that. Um, do you know, like, so Allison, with your first big paycheck, let's say you're like getting out of high school, college, whatever you decide to do, you're getting your first like real big paycheck. Do you have any like plans what you want to do with it?
Um, I feel like I would definitely save up for a car.
Do you have a particular kind of car you want?
Mm, honestly, like a used old one, because it's like my first car, so I wouldn't want a luxurious one.
Yeah, yeah. I bought an old one too. Although I love the convertible, so I had to get a convertible at least for the summertime. Thank you, Allison. Appreciate it. How about anyone else here? We got Kimberly Garcia. What about you? Have you gotten like a W-2 paycheck kind of thing yet? Like a official paycheck type job?
I actually do work studies at my school right now, and my first paycheck actually went to like myself because I feel like I was working a lot and like I really like needed it and I enjoyed it like going out and stuff like that.
Yeah, like needed some downtime kind of thing, or enjoyment time, whatever it may be. So what about like when you get like your first real big paycheck? I don't know if you're working full time right now, but let's say you like land that dream job. What's the first stuff you want to spend your money on? Gonna do with your money, I should say.
Or if I do that, I would like to save like half of it and like use the other one in like stuff that I actually need and not like that I want.
Okay, so just save half also. Love that. And I think it can be hard to, get in the habit early on when it feels like maybe you're not making as much or you're working a lot. But I do want to encourage everyone, like even if you just save even 10% or whatever it may be, just set aside a little bit, either save it, get some interest or invest it. It'll establish that habit for the longer term when you do start getting bigger paychecks or a different job, whatever it may be. How about Jose? It looks like you're walking there, but if you can hear us okay, what like when you get your first big paycheck, what are you gonna do with it?
I've had a lot of paychecks in my
Oh, okay.
lifetime, and I actually just got a job here, in college. So
Congratulations.
yeah, but yeah, I usually save it up just to spend it all in one go. So I usually like buy concert tickets that are like $400, and that's how I spend my time.
Okay, so you're not just well, you save up for a specific thing. It's not like you're just spending on little stuff. You wanted to like have cool experiences or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, usually I buy like a matcha here and there, or like some clothes, but
Okay.
big purchases only.
Okay, so where are you getting all these paychecks from, man?
Well, I have a lot of internships, side hustles.
What are some of the side hustles? I'm curious. How do you make extra money?
I like sell vinyl records, like internships, I guess, and I'll just call this
Okay.
job.
Cool. What kind of internship you got?
There's a lot like environmental justice like groups, like what else? Like research in the summer, um, other stuff like that.
Okay. So all kinds of different internships. Okay, I like that. Who else here is
Oh
making money? Thank you,
yes.
Jose. I appreciate it. Give me like a thumbs up if someone else either has internships or some other kind of source of money besides Youth Champion. Besides Youth Champions, if you want to drop one in here. I'm kind of curious because I don't know how everyone else is making money around here. Okay. Jenny, what are you doing?
I'm doing another program. It's Ultimate.
Oh yeah, Ultimate kind of used to be associated with Youth Champions too. Is that like one of their medical type internships or what is that?
It's just one of their programs. It's like they do Zoom. It's basically like youth champions.
Oh, okay, so similar kind of thing to this. Nice. How did you find out about it? Was it like something at Youth Champions or elsewhere?
No, my school they like gave us a little sheet, I guess, it like for specific students,
Oh,
and
okay.
they were talking about it, and it was like
Oh,
some of their staff, and we just signed up.
oh, okay, awesome. I don't know if you all know, but actually Youth Champions started under Ultimed, which is another big nonprofit, and then eventually kind of got spun out. So that's why I was curious. I'm like, oh, is it from Youth Champions? But it's like they do stuff with all kinds of different schools, especially like medical related schools, which is what their nonprofit is focused on. So that's super cool that you got involved with something else also. Let's see. Who else have I not asked here? Camilla, what about you? You get some, I was gonna say it almost rhymes with Skrilla, but you get some Skrilla or what, Camilla?
To be honest, this is my only source of income unless I'm asking my parents for money. But every time I get like, or if I get any sort of money, my dad always says, always spend half of, or always save half of it and put it in your savings.
and
Ah,
do whatever
always
you
save
want with that.
half.
Yeah.
Have you been doing that?
Yeah.
Okay, good for you. So what about like when you start like, go out, get your dream job, get some like big paychecks. What are you going to do with your money? Are you going to follow your
Okay.
dad's
So
advice or?
I would try to the best of my ability, but I would save half, and then I guess okay. So usually I just like I either save all my money and then splurge, and then save all my money and then splurge. So that's like a problem I have though.
Okay, so that money that you're saving for is not necessarily for like a long-term goal or something. It's like maybe some stuff that you want to go out, like save out to go do with your friends or like concert tickets like we heard earlier or something.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think, again, I think it's good to have a mix of all of those things. But I think your dad's advice is interesting that that's what other people said too, is like, oh, if you can save 50%. I think that might not always be realistic, but even if it's just, again, some portion that goes towards their longer term goals, I think can be really beneficial, especially just establishing that habit in the long run. Even if it's not a ton of money up front, in the long run, just creating that habit is going to get you, into the routine of doing it regularly. One thing, actually, one other tip that I have for savings is my savings account is not connected to my debit card. So I spend like my debit card for my checking. But basically, if I want to get money for my savings, I gotta like either transfer it online or go to the bank. And it's kind of more of a pain instead of just swiping my card and spending it. So that's one way maybe to make it a little bit easier to save if it's not easy to spend at least. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, we are going to go into some breakout rooms for a few minutes. I know we talked about this a little bit. I think we'll go to maybe let's do 4 or 5 breakout rooms. How many people do we have in here today? Participants, 20 something. How about let's do 4 breakout rooms and we'll have our student leaders lead them. We're going to lead alumni in there. If there's not enough student leaders, alumni, if you can help out, I appreciate you all being here to participate. I know we got kind of a smaller group and so many awesome people that have like volunteered to help out with stuff. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about this. I know, again, taxes aren't the most fun thing. So this kind of thing is like once you get your dream job and get a big paycheck, how about this? First of all, how much do you think you'll actually take home? So let's say you're getting $10,000 a month. How much do you think you're actually going to make on that? But what do you want to do with your money when you get your first good job? Do you want to buy a car? Do you want to save up for a house? Do you want to like go enjoy the things that you couldn't enjoy when you weren't making that much money? But just talk a little bit about like what's your long-term goals and maybe how does making that bigger paycheck fit into it? And they may be linked or not. So let's just do a quick, let's say 5 minute breakout group. And all of you can just, again, share that. If you can have our student leaders kind of lead the discussion and call on people or popcorn it around and just talk about, okay, when you get that bigger amount of money, what is it that you're going to do towards your long-term goals, towards your short-term goals, and maybe just enjoying yourself a little bit. Spill my coffee. So let's go ahead and hop into the breakout rooms and we'll come back, chat a little bit about it, and then I'll give some announcements and wrap up the session for today. I'll see y'all in a little bit. Okay, back everyone as you're trickling out of your breakout rooms. Again, we kind of shifted it a little bit because there's only so much we can talk about with taxes. But I think thinking about that first paycheck, it's like, how much are you actually going to take home? What are you going to do with it? Are you going to save it? Are you going to buy that car? I heard from a few people. Maybe save it towards something that's a longer term goal and spend some of it and enjoy it too. So I wanted to pop around to our leaders of the groups and kind of hear, was there common themes? Is it for school, go party at the club, whatever it may be? I think, Diana, you were one of the leaders in the group, right? Diana Gomez. What'd you hear? Any common themes or maybe some different stuff?
So half of um our little breakout group said they would sort of splurge and like use it to go out with friends or shopping for themselves. And the other half said that they would save for important events in the future, such as um cars, homes, helping parents.
Nice. Yeah. And again, I think one of the things, because I appreciate that, I think some people maybe lean one way or another, or hey, it's the first paycheck, got to finally enjoy it and then maybe save along the way. But again, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing type thing, right? It doesn't have to be, oh, I saved my entire first paycheck or 50%, whatever. You just make a routine habit of even if it's 5% or 10% or whatever it is to set a little bit aside. And sometimes having an automatic withdrawal or something to the savings account helps because it's kind of like the money's deducted just like a paycheck before you even see it. So then it's kind of not as expected. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Diana. Again, I always try to encourage everyone to save and invest a little bit of money too. But honestly, if you're not enjoying your life, I think of like spending money that's just for fun stuff as kind of just like investment money that should be saved. I think it's nice to have a little bit, at least some portion, going to fun stuff that you can look forward to. So it can all be important, right? Thank you, Diana. Appreciate it. Who else did we have in there? I'm kind of scrolling through all your faces here. Ashley, you were the leader of one of these, right? What did you hear? Was it kind of similar stuff or something different?
I feel like since we're all about the same age, I feel like a lot of our investments would probably be towards like school related stuff, like college, and also a lot of common ideas are like cars for like saving up for cars. But I think also, oh, somebody mentioned the 20-30-50 rule. I think you save 30 and then invest 20, and then for like necessary stuff it's 50. And I think
Nice.
that's very smart. That's very smart because like you're still investing in things you need and things you want, but you're not, because I think maybe 50% is sometimes going to be too much for saving, but like 30 is a reasonable amount for saving. And um yeah, they also mentioned like um new wardrobes, and then like long-term goals is like retiring with a certain amount of money.
Absolutely. So some short term, some longer term. And I like that 20-30-50 rule. Right. And the point being is, yeah, you got to set aside for some for yourself, for living, for enjoying life, and a little bit for savings and investment. And we actually talked a little bit about it's like you want to have some savings on hand in case you run into trouble. But for some of that longer term goals and money, it's nice to put it into investments so you can start making money on that money instead of having to work for it too, right? So thank you, Ashley. I appreciate it. And I'm just scrolling along here. We got Camilla, right? You led one of the groups. We heard some stuff about cars, some stuff about investing in education, some just going out and enjoying it, maybe new wardrobe, trip. What'd you hear, Camilla?
So my group, like we acknowledge that like oh most of us acknowledge that like obviously we would want to spend stuff on ourselves, but like we would spend like half or over half to use on short-term or long-term goals such as like college, a car, traveling's a good one. And like I think that one's interesting because like not many people want to like travel like as a goal. Like I would think of that as like spending on myself, but I would love to do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I told you all probably been in like 40 countries. I've spent maybe 5 years outside the US, and that was definitely a big thing for me. But if you work remotely, it's actually a lot cheaper to live in other countries than it is in the United States. So it's not actually that difficult of a goal either, although flights can be kind of pricey. But yeah, I love it. It's some similar stuff, right? Some education, some of the car stuff, and something a little bit different, which is like, hey, I want to set aside money for travel. Appreciate it. Thank you, Camilla. And Elias, I think was the last group we had here. Did you hear similar stuff or anything different?
Yeah, pretty much like everything was the same. One thing that stood out to me though was definitely someone who wanted to save up for like Disneyland, going out to Disneyland. And then most of us just basically said that once we get our first big paycheck, that we definitely want to start saving up some of it towards like buying a car or like just our college expenses as well.
Car, college expenses, and some of that specific fun stuff, right? Like Disneyland. I know you got a big love over there from Basha on that one. Thank you for sharing. I love hearing when it's like some stuff similar, some stuff's different in different groups. Again, all have different goals, but the important part is if you plan what that paycheck's going to be, save, invest, it's going to get you closer to both those short-term goals, the longer-term goals, the fun stuff, the important stuff, all of it. So thank you all for sharing. We're going to pop to our last little thing is just make sure you have all your survey finished. We're going to give you a little bit of time right now before the announcements. And actually, YC staff, if you can pull up the submission thing so we know, if you can tell me how many students we have in today and how many have submitted their surveys or the entire workbook. So I'll know if we're about done with that and get started on the announcements. Have most of you finished your survey and submitted your workbook already? I see some nods on there. Okay, hopefully most of you have that wrapped up so you get your points. Also, if you went to the Ignite speaker series, which I really like that guy, make sure you filled out your survey so you can get your points for that. We'll pop open the announcements for the week. And also, if someone can let me know how many people have submitted their workbooks, I appreciate it. A lot of these are also dropped. So all the links the YC staff just dropped in the chat here now. But I think most of these you know about. I'm just going to give you a little reminder. You still can join the finance park for, I believe it's, what is that, next Saturday? Yeah, the Saturday after this one. And it's a really cool thing where you can basically like learn how to budget, learn what you're actually going to receive from a paycheck, what you can spend it on, what the costs are. Great. 21 out of 25 of you have finished your survey, the workbook questions. If you haven't, go ahead and finish them up. So if you want to go to that field trip, earn some points, learn about budgeting, you can kind of do it in almost in like real life or simulated life, I would say. Like I said, if you went to the Ignite, fill out your survey. The deadline's this Friday at 5. If you would like to be a student leader, many of you joined as a student leader last semester and have been helping out with our breakout rooms just like today. If you haven't signed up yet and would like to sign up to be a student leader and lead some of that, please go ahead and fill out the form. Next, College Match Program. If you are enrolled in College Match at your school, make sure you fill out that form. If you are not already enrolled in College Match, don't worry about it, but you can ask your school more about it or your counselor if you'd like to get enrolled for the future. The Mustang Immersive Experience, again, this is not a horse, this is a car, but it's kind of a cool like 4D, 3D, you get to go in like a simulated Mustang, like what do they call it, muscle car type thing. And you can bring some friends too, and it's free. So if you want to go do something cool on a weekend and bring a friend along and you don't have to pay any money, go ahead and sign up for that. The last thing here is the First Gen U Career Institute. So this is only for alumni. If you are in college, first generation, that is for you. So go ahead and sign up if that is the case. For most of you, it will not apply. Are there any questions before we wrap it up? I know we talked about a lot of different stuff, some of these forms, some of this and that. Is there anything that I can help answer before we hop off? I apologize, I didn't specifically leave time for it. But if there's any questions about like forms, deductions, how to save, whatever it may be. You can speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. And if you would like to ask any questions after this wraps up, I will hang out for a little bit to make sure I can answer whatever I can. But go ahead and sign up for the field trips, get some points, go have some fun, and think about your goals while you're saving and you're investing, and know that the government's going to get some of it. So thank you all. I appreciate all your participation today, and I will see you next time. Have a great week. Goodbye, goodbye. Ooh, Mariana, I love that flying money one. That's my favorite. That's my favorite emoji thing. I'm going to put it on here too.